Hi, good morning. In this video, we are going to discuss human rights and domestic jurisdiction. So we already created a course. You can check it in our channel under courses section. So this is the fourth question. Already 3 questions are uploaded. So let's dive into the present discussion. Human rights and domestic jurisdiction. So one of the problems that arise in the implementation of the human rights program is the question of domestic jurisdiction. So what is here? What is the main issue? So problems mean difficulties and issues. Arise means coming up and occurring. Implementation means putting into action. And the program means plan and system. And domestic jurisdiction means matters controlled by a country with its own territory. Domestic means within own territory. Jurisdiction means matters controlled by country within its own territory. So this is the meaning of that. So for example, you can take India handling its own internal law. That means domestic jurisdiction. So major issues applying human rights is whether it falls under the country's internal control or not. Next, this is because of Article 29(7) of the UN Charter, which prohibits the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. Okay. So this is because of Article 29(7) of UN Charter. Because prohibits the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. Prohibits means does not allow. Prohibits means avoiding, does not allow. Intervene means interfere. Intervene means interfere. Essentially means mainly. So UN cannot interfere in a country's internal police matter. UN cannot interfere in matters that are purely internal to a country. Okay. Next, but some of the others rejected this view. Others means legal scholars. Rejected means did not accept. So meaning is some experts disagreed with this idea. Next, they held that the question of domestic jurisdiction does not arise in the implementation of provisions of the Charter concerning human rights. They held that the question of domestic jurisdiction does not arise in the implementation of provisions of the Charter concerning human rights. So held means stated and opinion, that is meaning of help, and provisions means rules and laws. Rules or laws. These are called provisions. Provisions often made in parliament. So experts has human rights are not purely domestic issues. According to the experts' view, human rights are purely not domestic. Expert says that human rights are not purely domestic issues. Next, in any case, the question of domestic jurisdiction does not arise in the case of implementation of the provisions of human rights conventions. So in any case, the questions of domestic jurisdiction does not arise in the case of implementation of the provisions of human rights convention. So convention means international agreements. So human rights treaties. Human rights treaties are international agreements. When a country signs human right treaties, so it cannot claim internal matter. Next. It may be noted that the domestic and international aspects are closely associated, one and each other. It may be noted that the domestic and international aspects are closely associated with each other. So closely associated means strongly connected with each other. Domestic and international issues are linked with each other. Okay. Next sentence. So almost every problem that concerns international relation must come within the domestic boundaries of one nation. Almost every problem that concerns international relation must come within the domestic boundaries of the nation. So international relations means relation between countries. Domestic boundaries means within a country. Domestic boundaries means within a country. International issues often affect internal matters. International issues are often affect internal matters. Next, therefore, a matter is not essentially one of the domestic jurisdiction if it has become the subject of international obligation undertaken by the state. Therefore, the matter is not essentially one of the domestic jurisdiction if it has become the subject of international obligation undertaken by the state. So, what is this meaning? International obligation. Our international obligation means what? Duty under international law. Duty under international law is called international obligation. Undertaken means accepted. Undertaken means accepted. Example, so signing. Signing is a treaty. Signing is a treaty. So if a country agrees internationally, it cannot say it's only internal. If a country agrees internationally, it cannot say it's only internal. Next, moving to second paragraph. So earlier, that is 5 decades back. Earlier means 5 decades back. If the state possesses sovereign power, it can exercise extreme power on its citizens and territory. And what is this territory? It could even torture or cause atrocities, and no other state could interfere in its internal matters. But after the establishment of the United Nations and making certain conventions, there are revolutionary changes takes place in this aspect. So sovereign power means supremacy, extreme power means unlimited control. So earlier states had full control over citizens. It could even torture or cause atrocities, and no other states could interfere. That means torture means severe physical or mental harm. Atrocities means cruel acts. So no country could interfere even if rights are violated. If one territory rights are citizens' rights are violated, no other country will be interfere in that. Next, but after that establishment of United Nations, so revolutionary changes took take into place. So what happened? Establishment means what? Formation. Revolutionary changes means major changes. Acceptable. Revolutionary changes means acceptable, major, expected changes. UN changed the system significantly. UN changed the entire system. Next, it is now universally recognized that there are certain limitations of the state powers over treatment of its subjects. Universally recognized means it was accepted worldwide. Limitations means restrictions. Subject means what is subject here? Subject means citizens. So states cannot treat citizens however they want. Now what happened after creating UN? After establishment of the UN, so state means territories, countries, whatever. They cannot treat citizens however they want. Next, if a citizen feels victim, if a citizen feels victim of violation of human rights, he or she can send a petition against his or her own state to the UN. Own state to the UN, citizens of the member. Okay. So victim means affected person. Violation means breaking of rights. Petition means formal complaint. So individuals cannot complain to UN against their own country. So individuals cannot complain to UN against their own country. Is very important. Next, if it does recognize that human rights have become a matter of international concern. International concern means what? Issue of all countries. Issue of all countries. So human rights are no longer just internal matters. Human rights are no longer just internal matters. Next, a matter which has become of international concern cannot be said to be a matter essential within the domestic jurisdiction of a state. So it is affects globally, it is not purely domestic. That is the meaning of that. Next, final paragraph. It may also be noted that article 29.7, actually it was misprinted 29.7, because earlier also we have seen that article was 29.7 of the UN Charter article. So please make it correct. It may also be noted that Article 29.7 of the Charter, which contains the prohibition in respect to the domestic jurisdiction, also provides an exception in respect to the application of the enforcement measures in the aspect of the human rights. Thus, if violations of the human rights gives rise to dispute, okay, first we will understand the first sentence. So Article 29.7 provides an exception in respect to enforcement and measures in aspect of the human rights. So exception means it's a special case. Enforcement of measures means action taken to enforce law. So there are exceptions where UN can act. So according to 29.7 Charter Act, according to that, UN will enforce or took action against the complaints. Next sentence. Thus, if violations of human rights gives rise to dispute or situation which creates a threat to international peace and security councils may take enforcement measures. The Security Council has taken such actions in South Africa in 1977, Iraq 1991, Somalia 1992, and Rwanda 1994. So if violation of human rights creates a threat of international peace and security, Security Council may take enforcement measures. So threat means danger, security control means power of UN body. So UN can act if a human rights violation affect global peace. And security, next sentence, Security Council taken such actions, South Africa 1977, and Iraq 1991, Somalia 1992, and Rwanda 1994. So real examples of UN. These are the real examples of UN intervened. So domestic jurisdiction means internal matters of state. UN normal does not interfere in according to Article 297. It's not 297, I think 27 only. Please make it correct, 27 only, Article 27. And the before also misprinted. It was 29. By typing 29.7, we will check and we will update as a comment. So 29.7 to be considered. Yeah. Please make it correct. It is 2.7 only. Article 2.7. Earlier it was a mistake here. Can correct it. It is 27 only, not 29. Please make it correct. 27 only. That's it. Yep.